Hi, folks. Welcome to season 2, episode 8 of the Lemons and Pineapples podcast. Today, my guest is Moni Castaneda, and we're talking about using Feng Shui to get your home working with you so you can accomplish your goals. First, a bit about my guest. Moni is a Feng Shui consultant, a speaker, and an author who has devoted over 2 decades to the study and practice of Feng Shui. Moni blends her knowledge of Western architecture with Eastern Feng Shui to help clients turn their current homes into dream homes that support them in every area of their lives. The result of working with Moni is that you live in a home you love and that makes you proud. Welcome to the podcast, Moni.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm very excited for this because I don't know very much about Feng Shui at all. So I'm ready to be enlightened along with the audience here. Can you start by sharing a bit about what Feng Shui is?
Yeah. So Feng Shui is an ancient East Asian art of placement or space arrangement. To put it in simple words, Feng Shui teaches you what to put where so that you can be happy, healthy, and successful, right? And so Feng Shui is very, very old. It's over 2,000 years old. As some people say, probably 4,000 years old, 5,000. But the term Feng Shui was coined about 2,200 years ago. Yeah. And so there's not just one type of Feng Shui, right? And so that's important to consider because sometimes people tell me, oh, I know all about Feng Shui. But then when I go to their places look really strange or bizarre, right?
Yeah.
Because you've seen it.
I haven't. I could just imagine you go to someone says, oh, I know all about Feng Shui, and they've got stuff in all the wrong places. I can imagine.
and things that not necessarily transfer from Asian culture to our Western culture in terms of design, but also in terms of belief. So there's 3 types of Feng Shui. So there's many schools of Feng Shui, but they're kind of like in these umbrellas, right? And so the first umbrella of schools of Feng Shui is Compass School Feng Shui. That is the kind of Feng Shui where they're so worried about the compass directions and you have to face these directions, you have to avoid these other directions. And so that is mainly based on astrology and numerology. And it creates fear-based experiences because they tell you based on your year of birth that you have 4 positive directions and 4 negative directions. That doesn't translate well to the West because what happens in the West, people become obsessed with what are called their 4 negative directions. And I have been to the homes of people that had Compass School practitioners try and help them. And they had become terrified of their office because the office was in a bad direction for them, so they just let it become clutter in the junk room. And so because so many people react with fear to Compass School Feng Shui, very early on in my career, when I first started getting interested in Feng Shui, I decided that's not what I'm going to do. Then there's the other umbrella is a Black Hat School of Feng Shui, which has become very popular in the West, especially in the United States. And this is a school that is actually the Black sect of Feng Shui that is Tantric Buddhism. And so, for example, they have a Grand Master. And pretty much when you start applying this type of Feng Shui, which I think is really, really fabulous, but you're pretty much adopting another belief system. You're pretty much joining another religion. And my issue is, because I'm a Feng Shui consultant, but I also train people to become Feng Shui consultants. I don't want the people that I train to be cut off of certain segments of the population because they're worried about the religion says they shouldn't do astrology or numerology and they shouldn't do Buddhist Tibetan practices, right? And so my idea is to have a type of Feng Shui that anybody can do regardless of their belief system and that wouldn't challenge their own beliefs. And so I opted to do Feng Shui as a branch of ancient Chinese medicine, just like acupuncture or Qigong, herbalism, massage, And so the type of Feng Shui that I practice is based on the principles of ancient East Asian healing, and I actually developed a system called the 9 Steps to Feng Shui system that allows people to turn their current homes into dream homes just by following the steps in the system. And it's a system that never fails. And any home can be turned into a dream home.
Amazing. And I think this is I've learned something very new here about 3 types of feng shui. The only feng shui I've got is I have a frog with a little coin in his mouth. He's inside the front door. That's the extent of mine. So you can tell me if that's the right place for the frog or not.
I actually
I would.
have an article on my website on how to place a 3-legged frog.
Okay.
But that's what it's called, right? But I do not use it or recommend it, because this is another thing that doesn't transfer culturally. There is a story in East Asia about what happened and why the 3-legged frog is a symbol of prosperity, right? But when you don't know that, all you see is a frog missing a leg. And that's not going to trigger good feelings, good emotions, or good thoughts in your brain.
I hadn't noticed he had 3 legs. He's just triangular shaped. So I hadn't actually, I'm just like, the frog must be by the door with the coin. That's
Yeah, but it has to point in a certain direction. It has to be kind of hidden. And so, like, if a client of mine insists that they want to use a traditional Kiro Feng Shui, I'll teach them the right way to use it.
Yeah.
But for most of my clients, I want to work with their own sense of style, with their own sense of taste. If they don't have one, I help them develop it. So that at the end, they absolutely love their home and they don't have to make excuses for their home.
Yeah.
And so, like, some of the cures that you recommend, when people come in, they go like, huh? Instead of saying, wow, this is a beautiful, comfortable home. I love the energy. They're more like, why do you have 3 coins hanging from a red ribbon over there? Why do you have a crystal ball over there? So my emphasis is in making sure that everything that we do, the client absolutely loves, and it looks great, because you want to love your home, but you also want to be proud of your home. You don't want to be embarrassed to have people over.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think our homes should be a nurturing space for us. They should be a space where we come into and go, as opposed to, like you said, a space that you come in and go, oh, look at the clutter. Oh, look at the mess. So tell me, how do you use feng shui to bring people's home space into alignment? What are some of the things that you do?
Yeah, and so we use these terms, for example, you say she's in a good place right now, and you say, well, he's not in a very good place right now. And these phrases that we use have a connection to how we see life. So the home is the place where you live, and the shape your home is in gives shape to your life. That's why we say he's in a good place or not, right? And so basically, the empty spaces in the home that you create with the walls and the places of the furniture, that's where you live. And if those spaces are harmonious, if your environment is in a good place, then you're going to have a much easier time being happy, being healthy, and being successful. And so what you do, what I do is I apply the 9 steps to Feng Shui system that I created, inspired on the 9 principles of universal law and 9 principles of healing. And so you go through a process by which you take care of the most important things first. So the most important thing is that you feel safe in your home. Then you have to feel balanced, right? In Chinese medicine, they talk about excesses and deficiencies, right? If a person has an excess of something or a deficiency of something, they're going to get ill. So your home can have also excesses and deficiencies. And a common excess that is actually really popular is, for example, the double or triple high ceiling in the great room. And that is an excess of space. And people love seeing these rooms with the really high ceilings, but they rarely use them because these spaces can lose the human scale. So what we do in Feng Shui is we do things that you still get to have your high ceiling, but it feels cozy and you use the space, right? And so there's first the safety, the sense of safety, a sense of wholeness, and then the balancing so that you don't attract drama to your life. Then we make sure that qi, which is the life force, circulates in your home in a way that it promotes vitality. But then you have to look at other things. You have to look at your connection with nature, right? What kinds of window treatments do you have? Are your windows opening and closing easily? What do you see when you open the windows? Is there an eyesore? Those are the things that we address. Then we have to harmonize color, shapes, and materials. We want to make sure that all the paintings that you have are giving you good messages. Sometimes people will choose paintings or photographs that are terrible. So for example, in the home of a client, I saw a beautiful black and white photograph of a tree that had been struck by lightning. It's a beautiful photograph. It's a beautiful piece of art, but it wasn't doing good things for the people living in that home. Looking at a dead tree is not the same as looking at a live tree. And so you look at the art, you look at the mirrors. Certain mirrors are bad feng shui, so you have to make sure you don't have those, and make sure that your mirrors are in a good place where they're doing good things for you, where they're not reproducing chaos or messes or eyesores. Then comes decluttering. Decluttering is an important part of feng shui, because decluttering is not just about letting go of the things that you don't need or love. The clutter happens when you don't have beauty. And so when people have beautiful things, they clean and organize them. And then we look at what are the most popular part of feng shui, which is called the 9 life areas. And so sometimes people, they tell me, oh, my home is all feng shui. And all that they have done is they have put little trinkets for each of the life areas in their home. So we use this tool called the Bagua map, that is kind of like a tic-tac-toe that divides your home into 9 squares or 9 rectangles. And then they tell you, well, at the back left, you have wealth. At the back right, you have relationships. At the front left, you have wisdom. At the front right, you have travel. In the very middle at the front, you have career. At the very back in the middle, then you have fame and reputation. And on the side walls in the center, you have health on the one side, and then you have creativity on the other side. And those are the 9 life areas, right? And so we help you set goals that are good for you. So since you're a life coach, right? And you people get unstuck, you probably have seen that in the coaching industry, there's a lot about goals, right? Setting goals and how important it is to set goals. And if you write your goals every day, and if you read them every day, that you are going to get where you want to go, that you are going to achieve those goals. But there's a huge gap. And I think here is where a life coach probably is essential, because there's a huge gap between what the person wants and how to get that.
Yeah,
That's one thing, right? But choosing the right goals should be the bridge that unites those two things, right?
Yeah.
Because if a person wants something, and what if that something is bad for them, right? And so you got to make sure that the person is choosing goals that are going to create their highest good. And so that's one thing that we do in feng shui too, is we help people choose the right goals for them. And then we also look at furniture placement. We have in feng shui something called the power position, which is when the position, the spot in the room where you are going to be the most productive, where you're going to feel the safest, where you're not going to get distracted. And that is for the position of the bed, the position of your desk and chair, and other places in the home. So like, for example, the positioning of the sofa is very important, the positioning of the head of household in the dining room. But the most important are where you sleep and where you work.
Okay.
Yes. And so that is how you bring a space into alignment. You go step by step, and you address all these principles of healing. A person needs wholeness, they need balance, vitality, they need to be in a good relationship with nature, they have to have harmony, they need to have the home tell them good messages. The Chinese say your home is, all the things in your home are constantly talking to you. Make sure they have good things to say, right? Then that your home is organized and tidy, that you are living with things you absolutely love, and that you're setting good goals, and that you have reminders of your goals on your walls, on your furniture, and that you have arranged your furniture in order to empower yourself and not to put blocks to your progress.
Yeah. There's so much in there. One question I have for you that kind of stood out: what makes a bad mirror?
Oh, bad mirrors, for example, mirrors that are not flat, convex or concave mirrors, those are bad. Fragmented mirrors, like there's these beautiful mosaics made of mirrors, and they're really bad feng shui, because you see yourself fragmented. In every single movie about mental illness, you're going to see there's a scene where the person is looking at themselves in a broken mirror or a mosaic mirror. No, there's something. And one that is often overlooked is a flat mirror with those bevels that are so beautiful. And most expensive, high-end, beautiful mirrors have those edges. That is bad feng shui. You should have a mirror that is completely flat and doesn't have the slanted edges. Because if you go and stand like at the edge of a mirror and it has the slanted edge, you're going to see a split image. So you want your mirrors to give you good feedback, true feedback. Yeah.
Brilliant. I think that there's some great information there, again, that I didn't know. And it makes total sense to not have a one of those mosaic mirrors that gives you, well, multiple versions of yourself. And you're absolutely right. Whenever we have a creepy, scary movie, there's usually somebody breaking a mirror and something strange that usually happens.
Another thing typical of horror movies is the block with the knives on the kitchen counter that you see in the beginning. And as the movie progresses, they show you the block and one knife is missing, right? And so that's bad feng shui.
That makes total sense because there's so many connotations to being murdered. I think we're all good. So where must the knives go instead?
If you want to put them in a block, it needs to go inside a cabinet. But there's these knife organizers that you can put in a drawer. And so your knives go vertically like that, you know, they're protected. Of course, you have children, you have to put a child's lock on the drawer.
Yes, of course. So the children don't murder you or anybody else.
You know, now it's become really popular to have these magnets behind your stove.
Yes.
And just put your knives over there. That terrifies children.
Yes.
My clients have actually told me that their children were having nightmares and they were crying about the knives.
Oh, wow. Okay, so the knives got firmly put into a drawer out of sight. Hidden. Can you share with us an example of a client you've worked with that's had a goal that you've helped them to achieve by going into their home and working with them and working with your feng shui magic to adjust the home space so it's adjusted the outcome for your client?
Yeah, I'd like to share two stories, one in Canada and one in Wales. And I'm in the United States, right? So I have never stepped into their homes because all my home consultations are now done long distance, you know, online. And it works just as well because I've been doing this for more than 20 years. So I know what spaces feel like. And today with photos and smartphones and videos, you can do everything online. So one of my clients, she was married and she was really happy in her marriage. And she told me the only thing that she wished about her husband is that he talked more, that he was very, very, very quiet, very, very silent. And she said, if he talked more to me, we would have a perfect marriage. And so when we got to step 6, which step 6 is about the language of the home, right? And one of the things that I always insist is that husbands be consultant because most of my clients are women. And they are used to making all the decisions. You know, the husband comes home and he finds a painting on the wall. He finds a new rug in the living room. Husbands are usually not consulted. And so part of what I do is, you know, make sure every family member agrees with this choice. And in the beginning, it was really hard for her. But when we got to step 6, which is about the language of the home, she told me, my husband and I are having intimate, deep conversations every single evening. So that is quite an amazing result, right? So the only complaint she had about her husband is he was not very communicative.
Yeah.
And then to having deep, meaningful conversations every single day, that's just amazing. And another story I wanted to share is an artist. One of my clients was an artist, but she hadn't created any new work in 7 years. She had all this art that she had started and she hadn't finished 7 years ago. And we worked, you know, we applied the Masters of Feng Shui system to her whole home. But what made the difference for her art, her creativity, was her formal dining room. It was pretty chaotic, right? It wasn't like messy or cluttered. It was just chaotic in the feng shui sense. Like things were not in the right places. The colors weren't good. And because she's an artist, you know, she wanted to have a red magenta wall in the formal dining room, which is not really a color recommended for a dining room. But I'm like, she's an artist. That's what she likes. I'm going to help her do what she wants to do, right? And so we made it work. And so her dining room, you can go to my website and go to the before and after. It's such a transformation from what it was before and the after, right? And after she was done reorganizing her dining room, she started, first of all, she started finishing the artwork that she had never finished before. But then she started doing new art. So the art she's doing today is art that comes from her soul, that is really her, that really represents her, and that makes other families happy. You know, like the kind of art she's making is, and especially for families with small children, is the kind of art that brightens up your day. It's the kind of art that makes you happy you stay home with the children, you know, or happy to come home after work. It's very family oriented. She has a very happy family herself. And so the art she was doing before, it wasn't her. It was like more expressionist, the kind of thing that art teachers push you to do, right? But so she started making art that came from her heart, that came from her soul. Those are two of my favorite transformations that I have seen. And of course, they both ended up with dream homes. One of them, you know, she had lived in the home 15 years. She had never felt confident to invite people over. And she actually had the pre-prom party at her house, you know, for her 17-year-old daughter. And all her daughter's friends were complimenting her and talking about how beautiful her home is. And I wish my home was like this. And then her friends and family started asking her for advice on how to decorate their homes.
There's so much in here. And the big takeaway I've got, because I've got a bit of a bias towards it, because it's what I coach a lot of people around, is that in doing the work in the homes with your clients, in making the shifts in the space that they're in, they've found a sense of confidence they didn't have before.
That's
and
exactly
I think that's so powerful.
And I'm sure as a life coach, you know that a lot of women especially have trouble making decisions, right?
Yeah.
And so the process of applying feng shui to your home involves a lot of decisions, but it's decisions that come from knowledge, right? So for example, in the beginning, one of the first things we do is, if your floor plan is not a square or a rectangle, we compensate for that. And so that from the inside, it feels like it's not missing a portion, right? And so that gives women a sense of wholeness, a sense of, there's a lot of potential here. You know, I haven't reached the end of the road. I'm not stuck. You know, I have all the pieces for my life to be the way I want it to be. And then when people are correcting these excesses and balances, right, they're like, okay, you know, I don't have to live a life of drama all the time. You know, there's room here for more. And so these are such important things because, for example, a hallway that is narrow needs to be made wider, right? That means that you have to choose a mirror to make it wider. But then you have to know where to place it, because in some spots you shouldn't have a mirror because what you are reflecting is not good, right? Or for example, if when you come out of a bedroom, you shouldn't see a mirror because that could startle you, right? So you have to know where to put the mirror. You have to know what kind of mirror you need. So when I give people all this information, okay, so this is what you need to make your decision, to make an informed decision. But then they go and choose the mirror they love, as long as it follows certain guidelines, right? And so that makes it, that lets the person know that with the right information, they can make the right decisions.
Yes.
That's such a huge transformation. You know, when a woman goes from doubting herself to knowing that she's making the right decisions, there's a huge leap in self-esteem and confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that I coach around is when you get into action, the more action you take, the more confident you are. So for people who struggle with decision making, the more you can practice your decision making muscle, and then you have a great outcome, the easier it is to do it next time when you are faced with a decision where perhaps you don't have all the knowledge, but you think, you know what, I've made all these great decisions already. I can do this. And I think that's the process of moving life forwards and making progress is being in action, and it's having the confidence to do that. So this has been so interesting, Moni. So what I've picked up here is be mindful of the kind of mirror that you're having in your home. Be careful where you're putting your knives. Making sure that everybody in the house is consulted. And I think it's I chuckled away to that one, because I think you're right. Lots of husbands come home and go, oh, you've completely redecorated. Great, I'll just check my bank statement for that. And it's, they live in the home too. And I think sometimes we take for granted, because men aren't always very expressive about what they do or don't want. And it's something
you shouldn't treat your partner like a credit card, right?
Correct. Totally agree with you. And it's something I've been doing in my own marriage is and it's something my husband said to me. Do you know what? Could you consult me before you make a decision, rather than making a decision and then telling me you've done it? And it has changed the relationship, because actually I didn't realize I was doing it. I think sometimes you go, oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
So interesting. And the last piece I picked up on is, be mindful with your art, especially if you have small children. We don't want Caravaggios up all over the house.
Exactly, right?
Not the artwork especially for a bedroom, and especially not for a home with small people living in it. Moni, could you share 3 things, somebody listening who's thinking, God, this is really fascinating, and they want to go trotting out into their house when they get home, or after listening to the podcast? What are 3 really easy things someone can do to transform a space right now?
So to get started with your home, to bring more positive energy, start with your mailbox or letterbox. Make sure that's in good condition, that it has a fresh coat of paint, and the numbers are super clear.
Okay.
And so that puts you in a place where you are findable, where good luck can find you, right? And so your mailbox or letterbox needs to be beautiful, in good condition, clear numbers, if possible, beautiful flowers around it.
Okay.
That's the first thing, right? That invites good energy to your home. You are making a gift to your neighbors by doing that. Then make sure that there's open space in front of your front entrance, and that you put 2 planters, one on each side of the main door, that are colorful, or they have colorful flowers on them. So they're like your guardians for your door, right? And the third thing is, make sure when you open the door, it opens fully to 90 degrees or to 180 degrees. In a lot of homes that I've been, or that I have consulted for, you can't even open the door because there's clutter behind the door. So make sure your foyer is uncluttered. Because if the first thing that happens to you is when you try to come home, the door gets stuck. And so this would apply to your front door, but also maybe the door that you use most often, right? And make sure that it opens smoothly, noiselessly. And also that the first thing you see when you come home is something that you really absolutely love. Because like one of my clients, very successful professional, when beautiful foyer, but when she comes in from the garage. So she opens the door from the garage into her house, and she sees her stash of dog food. She has 2 really big dogs, right? And so she buys this industrial size. And so she's put them in the hallway. And right across, so she used to open the door to from her garage into the home, and she saw the huge bags of dog food, and she's like, oh, I have to walk the dog. Right? And so it's like, oh, as soon as I come home, chores. So instead of having the happiness of seeing maybe a beautiful painting when you come home, and then having the happiness of seeing your dog come to you, right? And having that happy moment, and having the wrong thing when you come inside the home gives you the wrong attitude towards your home and towards your life. So those are the things I would recommend.
Oh, I love those. Thank you very much. And so actionable and just brilliant. And it makes so much sense to me when you're sharing this. So Moni, I've really, really enjoyed chatting to you today. You have a free class that people can access online. Could you just talk a little bit more about that for me?
So if you go to my website, which is 9stepstofengshui.com, but if you don't know how to spell feng shui, you can also type spacearrangement.com, and it will take you there. So on my menu at the top, you're going to see that says free and low cost. And if you click on free and low cost, you're going to find a class there that is called How to Develop a Sense of Style in Your Home. And you can take that class. It's completely free. You get instant access to it. And of course, with a lot of freebies, there's an email sequence that comes after, right? And so if you do not unsubscribe right away, because like, and I'm guilty of that. Sometimes you want a freebie, you get the freebie and you unsubscribe. If you do not unsubscribe and you can hang in there for a week, you will get a chance. You'll get a link to all of my freebies. I have another 15 fabulous freebies, webinars, free classes, charts. I have a BAWA map that you can get for free. I have a class on the 5 mirrors you shouldn't have in your home. I have a class on master bedrooms. I have so many classes, right? And so if you stick with me, if you get your freebie and you wait about a week, you're going to get a link that is going to take you to all of my freebies. So you can just keep cycling through that page and just learn all the feng shui that you can learn without any specific help, right? So that will get you an idea of what I do, how I do it, and how I can help you really turn your home into a dream home so you can live a happy life.
Wonderful. I'm going to pop the links, both of those links in the show notes, and then people can just go and click and
Awesome.
Great. And then stay on Moni's mailing list if you want these extras, folks. Don't leap off, because there's it sounds brilliant. Like you've got a wonderful selection of classes there. I'm going to go and subscribe and have a look at that, because I'm very intrigued. You've piqued my interest with our chat today. So thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate this. This has been a really entertaining and really enlightening conversation.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Folks, thank you very much for joining us for today's episode. I will see you same time next week. Bye for now.